Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Robin. Well, I was sitting there watching the television this afternoon, watching our president pick his way through the English language and convict the spy and all of that. And I was listening to reporters ask very polite questions. Sir, would you please tell us why this? And may we ask that? But all of a sudden, this banshee, this harridan, arose. May I just quote what I saw? Maybe some of you saw it too. Mr. President, why do you refuse to respect the wall between church and state? And we know that the mixing of religion and government for centuries has led to slaughter. The very fact our country has stood in good stead by having a separation. Why do you break it down? The president looked a little embarrassed at having suddenly been confronted with a real question and replied, well, I strongly respect the separation of church and state, to which the reporter cut in, well, you wouldn't have a religious office in the White House if you did. There followed another colloquy in which it ended by saying, the president said, well, the reporter said, you are a secular official. And the president said, tongue quieted, tail between his legs, I suppose. I mean no respect, sir. Disrespect. I agree, I am a secular official. Now, who do you suppose asked that question? Her. Well, she's been doing it for years. One of my favorites is to Jimmy Carter. Was it worth it to you to cause some destabilization of the dollar, a demoralization of the federal government, spreading doubt throughout the land in order to repudiate your cabinet? He thought probably it wasn't after that question. Helen Thomas has been asking those kinds of questions, God love her, for how many years? Well, let's start at the beginning. I'll make a very short speech here. She was born in Lebanon? No, not Lebanon, in Winchester, Virginia. How long ago was it? 35 years ago? 40 years ago? Something like that. She came to Washington as a young girl. Her first job was as a hostess in a restaurant downtown. Then she got a job with a newspaper here, which went belly up. Not her fault. And she went to work for United Press in 1943. She rose, and in 1961 became a White House correspondent and has covered every president since. She went to China with Richard Nixon, the only print reporter to accompany Mr. Nixon on that trip. She had made a phone pal of Martha Mitchell, and she's been asking those kinds of presidents questions. She became the dean of the White House press corps and taught many of us everything we ever knew about covering presidents, for which you may burn someday, young woman. She resigned last year from United Press International, but in typical fashion, although some suspect she didn't like the fact that it had been sold, she never said that. She never complained. In fact, she said, I wish the new owners all the best. Great stories and happy landings. That's called class. Class. There's another reason why we honor Helen Thomas. All of you female journalists in the room tonight, you owe her. Because when she joined the press corps, we men didn't let you in. What were you anyway? We had a good thing going and we enjoyed it thoroughly. And Helen, we men, we resent what you did, but you did it and we have to accept it. She was the first one to force the National Press Club in 1959 to admit women to cover Nikita Khrushchev there. She then became the first woman member, having integrated the National Press Club, to become president in 1971. She became president of the Gridiron Club, did the same thing. Ladies, you owe this great woman. But I suppose at the end, what we will continue to think of Helen Thomas as is the tough questioner of presidents. And I've told this story so often, Helen is sick of hearing it, but there may be 2 or 3 of you in this room who have not heard it. It is a true story to some extent. Presidents plant trees around the White House, and Jimmy Carter was planting a cedar of Lebanon tree in the backyard. And all the press corps was there, and when he had left, we said to Helen, knowing of her heritage, Helen, here, take a shovel. Shovel some dirt in. And she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to become part of the story, but we prevailed on her, and she did. And as she did, I thought I heard the ghosts of presidents past and present and future whispering, shove her in. Shove her in. Presidents come and go, but Helen Thomas, thank God, goes on forever. And now, to supplement my poor offerings, a video showing some of Helen's high life.